Talkaintment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talkaintmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of talkaintmentradio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on talkaintmentradio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller. I'm Brother Kahari, sitting in every week at this same time with Mr. Fuller. We can be heard live. We're live right now, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on talkaintmentradio.com. Radio, the way it should be heard, the world's greatest radio. And Mr. Fuller is here. And if you want his works, you can go to www. I hope I didn't say too many W's. www.producejustice.com. www.producejustice.com. And then at that point in time, you will be able to look at what is there, and you'll be able to decide which one of the two works you want. And Mr. Fuller, those works are?
A textbook workbook for thought, speech, and our action for victims of racism. And racism is described or defined as white supremacy. The book is designed for individual victims, people who consider themselves to be victims of the system of white supremacy, which is the most powerful religious and political government on the planet as we know it today, and which is the cause of the problems that people have on the entire planet today. It generates a lot of solutions. That's the system of white supremacy, that is, which is a form of racism. And it also generates problems. The solutions that it generates are material productions. The system of white supremacy produces a lot of material things, and very efficiently over a period of time. They have ironed out a lot of the problems that the world has been grappling with for many years of how to get things done in the most efficient manner. The problem with the system of racism is, or the system of white supremacy, which means mistreating people based on color, is that it destroys people in the process. Now, it makes material things available on a vast scale, all types of medicines and whatnot, all types of modes of transportation. Certainly, the modes of communication has grown out of the system of white supremacy, out of the minds of many white supremacists, many people who believe in mistreating people based on color. But they leave too many dead people, too many distressed people, too many mentally warped people on the factory floor. So there should be a better system, and conceptually, that system would be a system of justice where you could accomplish the same thing without destroying people. That system would be guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Now, that would mean that things would move a little slower, but they would be much more efficient for the long haul, and it would be a little less exciting. It would be a great deal less exciting for the satisfaction of most people, because many people on the planet like to keep excitement going. They like to always have something thrilling going on. Otherwise, they get bored. The mind doesn't stand boredom very well. But doing constructive things can be anti-boring. We're not taught that in the system of white supremacy. There must be some type of excitement, even if the excitement is causing great death and destruction. That's considered to be almost fun for most white supremacists. They enjoy it. And they teach even their subjects to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have such a disturbing world like we have now.
Now, Mr. Fuller, we're going to start off listening to something that is created similar to Trayvon Martin, the shooting of Jordan Davis. We're going to hear a little clip about the breaking news coming from CNN. Listen here.
In the Circuit Court of the 4th Judicial Circuit in and for Duval County, Florida, in case number 16-2012 CF 011572 AXXXMA, Division CRD, the State of Florida versus Michael David Dunn. Verdict is to count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of attempted second-degree murder, a lesser included offense. We find that the defendant discharged a firearm during the commission of the offense. Verdict is to count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of attempted second-degree murder, a lesser included offense. We find that the defendant discharged a firearm during the commission of the offense. Verdict is to count 4. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of attempted second-degree murder, a lesser included offense. We find that the defendant discharged a firearm during the commission of the offense. Verdict is to count 5. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of shooting or throwing deadly missiles as charged in the indictment. So say we all, done at Jacksonville, Duval County, Florida. Juror number 7, 4-person, dated February 15th, 2014.
Now, Mr. Fuller, I don't know how closely. I'm sure you followed this pretty closely. The Davis shooting angered many people. It happened on November.
All right, so bring the jury.
It happened on November the 23rd, 2012, when Dunn, who is white, pulled into a gas station in Jacksonville. This is Jacksonville, Florida, parking next to a red SUV full of black teenagers. Loud music blared from the car. Dunn expressed his displeasure. Words were exchanged. Dunn opened fire, killing Davis. Dunn said he saw a gun. The teens were unarmed, prosecutors said. Mr. Fuller, let me get your thoughts on this verdict, and it comes in the aftermath, of course, of what happened to Trayvon Martin in Florida. And I know you've had, you probably looked at it and had some thoughts. I'd like to get your thoughts on it, Mr. Fuller.
Well, it's to be expected. We're in a system of racism. That's the only real government on the planet that you can really call a government. I mean, it is the strongest and most powerful government on the planet. All other so-called governments are non-existent. And that government is based on dominating and mistreating people based on color. And everything is geared for that. Everything is taught for that. I mean, the use of the word black is associated with everything that's supposed to be causing distress. I mean, someone said that 9/11 was the blackest day in history for a very, very long time. That's how it was described, a dark day.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
If you look at the day physically, it wasn't a dark day in New York City. The sun was shining.
Full of sunshine.
Yes. Otherwise, if it had been a dark day, those pilots never would have been able to hit those towers. They would have gone right into the ocean. There was nothing dark about that day, but they call it a dark day. Why call it a dark day when it's not a dark day?
Yeah.
It's because of the association with dark skin. Anything that's dark, anything in the universe, the sky itself is threatening because it's dark for the most part at night.
Yeah.
The night is threatening.
Yeah, it was.
So when you have that type of mentality,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a white man sitting there in his car with a gun, and guns are made in the system of white supremacy primarily for killing non-white people. It's glorified for that. Saddle up, boys, and let's go get them engines. The only good engine is a dead engine. So get your 6-shooters and your Winchester 73s And this is glorified in what they call Western movies. They sometimes call it Western civilization. There's nothing civilized about that type of activity, but it's glorified. So when a white man is sitting there in his car and he sees some black faces come up alongside of his car and he hears something that he considers to be alien sounds coming from that car, alien means I didn't invent that type of song. I mean, even though some of the songs that I sing are similar to it, they call it thug music and whatnot. Well, I mean, there was a so-called country and western song not too long ago called I Shot a Man in Dallas, just someplace, just to watch him die. I think that's an old western song. So I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. These were white people who were singing these songs. It's a country and western song. It was glorified. But then a whole lot of country and western songs traditionally are about 6 guns. Saddle up, get on your horse, that type of thing. So we now have horses with 4 wheels. And so dark-skinned people pull up alongside. So what you do, you hear their sounds, their war whoops, you might say, coming from those speakers. So what you do is open fire. You're being attacked by the dark-skinned people, by the invaders, by the savages, by the savage tribes. The Zulus are coming. The Indians are coming. The Yellow Peril is coming. Boom, 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 boom. That's what you do when you're threatened. Because these are threats. Those sounds are threats. They're like war drums. And they're glorified as such, sometimes by white people or black people themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, these are war drums. I mean, I'm sending a signal out to you that I'm dangerous. I'm coming after you. I want you to hear me before I get there. And when I get there, be ready to do battle. That's how it comes across. So that's the result. And people should be aware of this. But in order to understand this, you have to understand the system of white supremacy. If you don't understand that, everything else is going to confuse you.
What should be the effective response?
The effective response is to understand what I'm saying right now. This is what people have to learn, or this is going to keep happening. At the Trayvon Martin thing, I said, this thing that happened to Trayvon Martin, it's going to happen again. You have that stand your ground law, which is a message in the system of white supremacy to white people. This is a message to white people. Look, I'm going to put a gun in your hand, and anything that threatens you, I'm going to license you to carry a gun, and anything that threatens you. The first thing you should think about is not what the overall situation is, but stand your ground. Now, what do you consider to be a threat? Anything with dark skin at the top of the list. Get that in your heads. You hard-working, earnest, God-fearing, patriotic, white people of the world. Be on the alert. You may be under siege. Listen out for the war drums that may be coming in the form of speakers, too loud in the night. So grab your 9mm or your shotgun or your Winchester 73 or your automatic rifle and be ready to do battle, because danger is right next to you. Danger is right around the corner. Danger is coming down the street. Look out for that dark-skinned person with that hood on. That's danger. And the dark-skinned people themselves have been praised, more or less, in song and folklore as being dangerous people. And some of them, not having means of expressing manhood in any other way, are told that, hey, wear that with a badge of honor. So if somebody acts a little bit combative to you, You rise to the occasion and be combative with them and be ready to do battle. And be ready to do battle all day, every day, even going to and from school. Be ready to do battle. Be ready to do battle on every bus stop, on every metro train, wherever you happen to be. And so when this kind of message goes out, and the white supremacists have nurtured that type of thing, because this is the society that they run this society. All societies that have so-called dark-skinned people are run by the white supremacists. So they send out these combative messages and then says, let's everybody rise to the occasion of being combative, not being peaceful and harmonious and helpful and constructive. Everybody is supposed to step out of their door with the idea in mind that I'm going to do combat. They have that type of mentality. This is a part of the entire system of white supremacy, and this is why this is going to happen again and again and again until it kind of gets out of hand, and then they'll think of something else. They always think of something else because they're going to keep the combat going. Even as we speak now, there's combat going on all over the world among dark-skinned people, and nobody can figure out why. Among the dark-skinned people, that is. But the white supremacists know why, because they're instigating it all. Whether it's in Jacksonville, Florida, or whether it's in the Central African Republic, or whether it's in Uganda, or whether it's in Nigeria, or whether it's in Tripoli. Wherever you find dark-skinned people, you'll find the white supremacists very scientifically setting something up so that everybody's in a combat mode, and then they come out in the newspapers and on the radio and on TV and say, I don't understand it. I mean, why can't people be peaceful? And they are instigating it all. But they are shrewd manipulators of the mental condition of people. And they automatically are dedicated to bringing these type of things about.
And we see that just recently I read where Dr. Martin Luther King's 3 children are embroiled in a lawsuit with Harry Belafonte. And the 2 brothers are embroiled in a lawsuit with their sister Bernice. And it's all about somebody wanting to buy something, somebody wanting to spend big money for something. And just like you said, you know where that source is. You know, I don't know of any black people that's going to spend $32 million for a Nobel Peace Prize medal. I mean, you know, they're just not going to do it. And you see this going over, and it's making a mockery all over the world of the King family. And this is something that's going on right now as we speak, Mr. Fuller.
And young Jesse Jackson Jr., I think, is doing time in jail.
That's right. He's doing time
in jail. You have many black politicians who are now on their way to jail or in jail. Mm-hmm. I mean, for doing what you call stealing, hiding money in the refrigerator, that type of thing. Whether they're guilty or not, I mean, a lot of the evidence, according to most of the authorities, quote, unquote, say that they're stealing campaign funds and this type of thing and all like that. So black people have to be aware. And I want to mention that, too, for all of the black people who are running for office. Don't rise to that occasion. That's a trap. Anybody who approaches you, learn something from the Godfather. Whoever approaches you, making some kind of deal about campaign funds and all this kind of stuff that's supposed to be just between you and them, you are going to wind up doing time. Cement that in your brain. Whoever approaches you is most likely someone who's been sent by the very people who are going to cut your throat. And they make you an offer, you're already in trouble if you take it. And I would like to say that to every black person on the planet who's running for any kind of office. Where is this coming from, you should ask. You should jump back. Don't rise to that bait. And it's cheap bait at that. Because usually they're not offering you very much of anything but some kind of bling-bling. And don't rise to it. Don't be fascinated by it. I don't care how much money is being piled up. I mean, and it's tempting. Money is very tempting. The white supremacists control all of the money on this planet, and there's always strings attached. And don't you ever believe that it isn't. And the string that is attached is actually a rope around your neck, too. In most cases, one way or another. You have to think of it that way. You have to cement that in your mind. Whomever approaches me on some type of cement contract or something like that, oh, wait a minute, hold it. Get out of here. Get out of here. If you're not going to announce this on the radio that what you are proposing to me, if you're not going to say it on the radio and tell the whole world that you are doing it, don't come to me with it and say this is just between me and you. No, under no circumstance allow anybody to do that. Tell that to the public first and then come to me what you're going to do so that everybody will know what's going on.
Wow. After the verdict of Jordan Davis, the attorney, Benjamin Crump, for the family of Trayvon Martin, had some interesting statements. He said, quote, as black males and black people in America and other minorities and Hispanics as well, it is somehow, if you kill us, the justice system isn't equal. It's almost as if your life is less valuable. As if your life is less valuable. The rules are different. If it were equal, I believe Michael Dunn, the guy who killed Jordan Davis, would have been convicted of first-degree murder. Mr. Fuller, are those comments, not taking him out, taking the attorney out of the picture, just the concept of what he's saying, is he correct in that analysis, Mr. Fuller?
Well, a lot of people have already given the analysis. Suppose 9 and 10 shots, from a 9mm pistol has been fired from that carload of black males into that car where that white man was, and the white man was hit and killed. I don't think we'd be having this conversation because it wouldn't even made the news, other than it would have made the news saying, hey, after a week or so, convictions for all of them, life sentences, end of story. Next case of whatever carload of black people happen to be coming down the highway, all right, doing anything. Next case, and next case, and next case. Not dragging on a trial and talking about a retrial and a rehearing and all like that, and maybe an appeal and all. No, it's open and shut. Carloads of black people with guns. Or one of them has a gun and firing at some white people in another car, even if it didn't hit anybody. Hey, you're history, mister. All of you boys, get out of here. Hands on the top of your head, hands on top of the car, hands behind your back, hands in the air. Even black people pick that up, even when they have concerts. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, hey, where did we get that?
Yeah.
It's in the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Everybody put the hands in the air. Yeah, all black males, hands in the air all over the world. Hands in the air at gunpoint.
It's really interesting when you kind of look at this, because it's exactly the kind of stuff that I believe you have been saying for years, and it just either our reaction is not effective or something. I know, for example, here in Columbus, Ohio, and in Cleveland, we had two cases where there were car chases. The guys who they were chasing were not shooting, and yet the so-called police fired 130 bullets in one, and 135 shots were fired in another. Now, Mr. Fuller, last time I checked, it didn't take 130 shots to do anything to anybody, but they were just firing at will. And, of course, in both cases, these were non-white people.
Saddle up, boys, and let's go get them. That's what should be in every black person's head when they're driving down the highway calling themselves in a car chase with law enforcement. And the code says, what I write, I say, don't do anything that you think will attract the attention of a law enforcement officer. That should go out to every black person, every non-white person on the planet. Don't do anything to attract their attention, because most likely if you're attracting their attention, you might be doing something because they are trained to pick up something to attract their attention that may be something that should be put down, maybe something that should put a stop to. That's what law enforcement officers are trained to do. But some black people go out of their way to get the attention of law enforcement people and then want to know why they're getting the attention.
What do you mean, Mr. Fuller? Give me an example.
Anything. Even the loud music. Even though it's not offending anybody, except the people that they offended. You hear some things and all like that, but you hear all sorts of things. You hear things on television that maybe they shouldn't be there now. You hear people using all kind of vulgarity and everybody's laughing, all right? You hear the same so-called vulgarity coming out of a speaker, and all of a sudden, that is disturbing the peace. Now, wait a minute. Either you're going to glorify profanity or you're not. Particularly if you start talking about television now. See, they're using all kinds, little by little, the words that used to be four-letter words that you wouldn't dare hear, even on a school ground or anywhere. When people are fighting, you wouldn't hear it back in the old days. But now you have it being glorified on television. Now, you can't have it both ways. You're going to glorify it on television where millions and millions and millions of people are listening, and then if it's coming out of some speakers, coming down the street, why aren't you glorifying that? It's just the setting that's changed. You stop being hypocrites. That's what I want to say mostly to the white supremacists of the world. Not all white people. I'm not talking about all the white people, but I'm talking about those that believe in mistreating people based on color, and there are millions of them, and they know who they are. I want to say that to them directly. You know who you are. You know what you think. You know about the jokes that you tell in the little delicatessen on the corner, the little mom and pop place, and in the white barber shops. You know who you are. So stop being hypocrites. Say what you mean what you say it outright, and stop showing these two faces, because you're confusing people. And the main way that the white supremacists operate on this planet is by confusing people, confusing their victims, because you can victimize people more by confusing them than you can by beating up on them all the time, even though every now and then you do beat up on them, every now and then, here and there, selectively. But mostly, the system of racism works based on deception. And deception, the purpose of deception is to confuse people, because they have found out scientifically that the longer you can keep people confused, the longer you can dominate them.
1-877-932-9766. 1-877-932-9766. If you want to talk to Mr. Fuller is here, and we're waiting on you. 1-877-932-9766. All right, I'll do that one more time. 1-877-932-9766. We'll return shortly with Mr. Fuller and more. We're going to get into some things I saw on a television show that I thought were very scary. Stay right there. More to come.
Hey, Carol, that's your third espresso. What's going on?
I've just been to my doctor, and he's ordered lots of tests. Blood work, scans, x-rays.
Why? Is everything okay?
That's just it. I don't really know the whole story.
Well, I think the best thing you can do is get more involved in your own health care and get some information.
How do I do that?
One of the most important things you can do for your health is to ask questions. Be an active and informed member of your healthcare team. Remember, your healthcare is about you. For starters, you should ask what condition you're being tested for, how the tests will be done, how soon you'll get the results, and what happens after that. Learn more about what questions to ask about medical tests and other aspects of your health care. Get the brochure, Be Prepared for Medical Appointments, available at ahrq.gov/consumer. That's ahrq.gov/consumer. A message from the U.S. Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
Did you know that people born from 1945 through 1965 have the highest rates of hepatitis C, but most don't know they're infected? People can live for decades without symptoms, but over time, hepatitis C can cause serious health problems. If you were born during these years, the CDC now recommends that you get a blood test for hepatitis C, so talk to your doctor and find out if you have hepatitis C. It could save your life. No more.
This is S. Yolanda Robinson with All in Our Family. This month is Black History Month, and we are going to have Ron Daniels, the former president of the National Black Political Assembly and the president of the Institute for Black World. That's Saturday, March the 1st at 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. Stay tuned.
We're cracking down on Medicare fraud.
The health care law gives us powerful tools to fight it,
to investigate it,
prosecute it,
and stop criminals.
Our senior Medicare Patrol volunteers
are teaching seniors across the country
to stop, spot, and report fraud.
You can help.
Guard your Medicare card.
Don't give out your card number over the phone.
Call to report any suspected fraud.
We're cracking down on Medicare fraud.
Let's make Medicare stronger for all of us.
You got the power.
This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on talkaintmentradio.com. Radio, the way it should be heard, the world's greatest radio. I'm Brother Kahari, sitting in every week. We are live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our replays today are 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this evening. Or you can go to the podcast and get past shows, and even this one, as soon as we put it up, of Mr. Fuller, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All right, Mr. Fuller, I got to stop saying I don't know where that's coming from. We have a caller, but I'm going to get to the caller in just a minute, and I teach people not to do this. Justified is a television series that comes on. I had a chance to watch this series. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It comes on a regular basis. It's about what's going on down in Kentucky and, the criminal behavior and all that kind of stuff down there. There is a short black female, dark-skinned, who is a sheriff, a deputy sheriff from the U.S. Marshals, at least in the film. She had an interaction with a bunch of black guys who had their own thing. They were doing their own thing in the hills, running a little moonshine, probably a host of other things. And as a result, the interaction between these two, the way it was written in the script was absolutely horrible. It got to the point, he said, "How you doing, little sister?" She said, now she's all involved with following behind this white leading man. She even says in one of the scenes, you're not hard to, you're easy on the eyes. So you know where that's going. But he never pays no attention to her, none whatsoever. Then in that scene, she says something that just almost made me throw the television away. She says, they have this horrible interaction going. He calls her an Aunt Jemima, which is bad. But he starts out calling the little sister, and she rejects that, says, "Oh, you just trying to get me to come over to your side." Then they get into it. He calls her an Aunt Jemima. And then she says, nearly the end of the interaction, she says, you keep messing around, something to the extent you keep messing around, I will put my foot up your ass. I mean, and I said, whoa. Look at who's writing this kind of script and putting this madness into these relationships. Mr. Fuller, we have talked about black male, female, the conflict that's being, fomented between black males and females. Can you comment a little bit on how it's done, how TV series like Scandal and all that kind of stuff pushes those kind of messages out there, Mr. Fuller?
Confusion that's going to generate conflict. That's what it's for. That's the white supremacist way of doing things. That's one of the 6 strategies that they're using. They are masculinizing black females all over the world. They're saying, well, look at your males. They're all in jail. They're all laying up there in the bed, with a eviction notice on your dresser. And getting more babies and whatnot, and then running off somewhere. And leaving you with them. And you have to get out and scrape and whatnot and try to make a little money. And even when you make a little money, standing on the bus stop, you're trying to get somewhere to pick up the child that they left you with. And then his brother comes down to the bus stop and robs you of the little money that you have. You black women need to get masculinized. You need to become the man because you don't have any. Those things that you call men, they're not even qualified to be good boys. So forget them and become the man yourself. Be the man and the woman. And go get you a white woman and marry her. And then you got a good combination there. The white woman has plenty of resources and all like that. She can take care of you. She can help you to raise your child. Then you put on a law enforcement uniform and you go around and arrest all of the black people who have made your world a hell on earth. See, but now you are now a law enforcement officer. So all of your sisters who had boys and whatnot, you go around arresting them. You might even wind up arresting your own black boy. If he's black, you arrest him too because he's black. He should be in jail. Everybody black should be in jail. If they're male particularly, see, because they are a threat to the white supremacist system. So that's your job now because they'll never be men because we got a setup where they'll never be men. They ought to go around with signs like they did during the Martin Luther King era, the garbage workers or the sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee were carrying signs many years ago saying, I am a man, telling the world I'm a man. But the white supremacists said, you're not going to be a man on this planet ever. Not as long as I'm in charge, and I'm going to be in charge forever.
And Mr. Fuller, there were only 3 black folk in the whole series. One was a crook and a robber, and they wind up, and the white leading man winds up killing him, shooting him cold, like he's scum of the earth. And then the other 2 was those 2. And in no other interaction between white men and white women in that series have I ever heard that kind of language, that kind of level of disrespectful language. I'll put a foot up your ass. It was unbelievable to listen to that exchange. But
yes,
and
it
goes on and on.
It is believable when, first of all, you have black people who are primed to say these things to each other all the time. All right. In other words, if you can't have a paragraph made up of nothing but what you call 4-letter words, and or MF this and MF that, and you are a black person, you're not supposed to be linguistic. In other words, you're not supposed to be able to communicate. This is the way I have heard some black people that everything that they said almost, they couldn't put a sentence together, and this is the truth. I have been around some black people that could not put a sentence together without using some type of 4-letter word. But these words are not their inventions. They came from the white supremacists. They think they invented this. They combined it, but the words were really invented by the white supremacists and handed to black people. And then now we're being condemned for talking like this. But we've gotten a habit of talking like this. But one of the 10 stops in the code book that I've written is stop using those curse words. Just try to avoid doing that. Get to the place where and your mind will become better functioning. Once you get in the habit of just saying things in a constructive manner, without always, because most curse words have something to do with putting down somebody. That's what they're used for. And you might say, well, a lot of white people use a lot of profanity. Well, just because they do a lot of stuff, we shouldn't pick up on what they do. That is, unless it is proven to be of constructive value. There's no constructive value that comes out of that. The first thing I learned when I went into the Army was all these different words and different ways of using words and different combinations of words that were used, that were put downs of people. I mean, the yelling and the screaming and the cursing, just on and on and on and on. And this is supposed to be, what makes a proud soldier. Got to be able to use profanity. I mean, endlessly. Yelling at people, screaming at people, saying derogatory things about people, and they call that a part of your military training. And then they wonder why young people are so-called, quote, unquote, disrespectful. Well, the whole society is rotten that way. Just when it comes to the use of language, just pure rottenness. Pure rottenness. Can't say it, can't put together a decent sentence for anybody. It's almost like a breath of fresh air to hear somebody talk for 5 minutes and everything is pleasant. Everything. I mean, it gives you a lift. It gives you inspiration.
But, Mr. Fuller,
we don't need all that garbage.
It seems like they want to normalize that kind of language between black males and black females. Let me take
Absolutely.
Let me take a call. Caller's been waiting patiently. Thank you, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, you were speaking of these television shows, and I'm starting to notice it's a pattern with the black television. Well, the shows where it's cast with mostly black folks, or mainly black women. And, it almost seems like it's like right now they're having an attack on black females. I mean, if you look at the pattern with the Basketball Wives, Love and Hip Hop, it's all the same pattern.
Scandal, yeah, it is.
You have all of them have the filthy mouths, and they always have they'll have gay friends, they'll have a gay couple, and it's like a constant. And they'll always have like an ignorant mother for the black male that's on the show. And it's like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's the same thing over and over again. Each episode is the same concept.
Well, you remember the comedian Dave? His last name's not coming to me. Remember he talked about how they wanted to put him in a dress?
Oh, yeah, Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle, and he refused. And I'm reminded of Madea, Tyler Perry. Here where you got a guy well over 6 feet tall, and he dresses like a transvestite. And I've seen this with not most, but many black men, including Wesley Snipes. I mean, you see this pattern over and over. I know they've tried to put Denzel in a dress, and he's probably said no. I've even seen they even put some stuff on Sam Jackson, which shocked me. The only two I haven't are Lawrence Fishburne and Denzel. Those are the only two I haven't seen, go that route. I mean, it comes back to what Mr. Fuller is saying.
Well, not only that, I just found out that Tyler Perry has a new movie coming out called it's Single Mothers Club. Now, if that ain't another stereotype right there, why would you celebrate being a single mother?
Wow. It almost like, remember when they tried to revive that for colored girls who commit suicide, but I think black folk got on top of that quick and saw where that was leading. Mr. Fuller, do you want to respond?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's right in your face over and over and over again. They have decided, apparently, the white supremacists have decided that we're going to push it even though you are aware of it, even though everybody's becoming, not everybody, most people are not, but little by little, just like the gentleman is just calling, little by little, black people, are not totally stupid. I mean, we will begin to say, hey, this is what this is all about. This is a part of a white supremacist conspiracy. That's what it is, okay? This is all a part of the white supremacist package to actually demean black people and cause black people to be more confused about everything, including their sexuality and whatnot, push everything that is tacky, trashy, and terroristic. I call it the 3 T's. Tacky, trashy, terroristic. Everything that's in that category push it off on the black people of the world. If it's tacky, if it's put together all sloppily and all like that, associate that with black people. I mean, just the way that people interact with each other. Tacky is the best that it can get. You can never say it's anything that's really productive or constructive or inspirational, constructively inspirational about it. You make a movie, put nothing in it that's a lesson in it that will guide a black people's mind into doing anything of constructive value. It's all got to be tacky at very best. And if you try to improve on the tackiness, then it becomes trashy. You lead from tackiness to trashy, the second T. And then if you try to improve on the trashiness, then it's going to terrorism. The three T's: tacky, trashy, terroristic. This is what the white supremacists have on their agenda for the entire future of the non-white people of this planet, if they can pull it off, I mean, scientifically, and keep it in place for the next 1,000 years, if they can.
Mr. Fuller, I remember when you said that the homosexuality in particular would be associated with black faces. We're starting to see that. First black basketball, first NBA player comes out, says he's openly gay as black. First NFL player comes out and says openly, and you're starting to see the association with that. But Carl, I know you probably had another question or comment, so I wanted to get to that. So go ahead.
The only thing I was going to add to that, it's also these shows are coming on different networks, but I noticed none of the shows come on the same day. I mean, I know that's kind of like minor, but I think the whole point of it is right. They don't want you to miss one episode of none of the shows. And I got a Facebook page, and I got probably 100 and some so-called friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed the only thing that, like, say, I'll put something on my post of something that I feel like is some substance.
Mm-hmm.
I want to comment. But so I ran a test. I said, okay, well, I'm going to put some nonsense on there. And I get all these likes, all these different comments. And I'm like, I mean, it's almost like we have been dumbed down so much. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Also, I watched the interview with one of the girls from one of those basketball wives.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually said in this, in the interview that her fight was actually, this is what they told her to do. Wow. She's not on the show anymore, but I mean, it's like all this stuff they call reality is just, just something that's orchestrated.
Yeah, it's orchestrated. Mr. Fuller.
Yes, that's in a third area of entertainment, third area of activity among people, the entertainment field. It's supposed to be everything that the white supremacists do in all areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. When it comes to non-white people, it's supposed to be non-constructive. You can just underline that one word. Look at it. The white supremacists will look at anything that non-white people are doing anywhere on the planet. Brooklyn, New York, Seattle, Washington, Dallas, Texas, wherever you have non-white people, Brazil, Uganda, Central African Republic. Look at all of the areas of activity. Just go and take a look, and then the white supremacists, they take a look, and they say, how can I make this non-constructive? How can I first confuse the people about what they are doing and what they're supposed to be doing and what they're supposed not to be doing, and have them doing something that is totally insane? And I am going to contribute to anything. I'll put up money. I'll put up all my resources to have them doing anything that's going to wind up being non-constructive. And that's all the system of white supremacy is about.
Wow. Mr. Fuller, we're joined by the caller. Stay right there, the one that I just talked to. We have another caller on the line that wishes to talk to Mr. Fuller. Caller, go ahead. Second caller, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Fuller, wanted to ask you, speaking of constructive and non-constructive behavior, do you have any opinion on, if you've even heard about it, the recent news stories coming out of the continent of Africa, different countries implementing laws, if you will, such as banning or imprisoning so-called gays for life, certain punishments meted out to those types of those individuals. I know that within the code book you do speak about anti-sexual behavior. Do you have any opinion on punishment
you mean
towards those
on their attempts to deal with the situation?
Yes,
Mr. Fuller.
No, what I have said in my book is that everybody is on the planet is insane. We're in an insane system. All of the systems are just as insane as they can be. So everybody is insane in all areas of activity. People are not acting the way that they should anywhere on this planet. Let's get that straight. Now, there is a thing called acute insanity, and I put so-called male wanting to pretend that another male is a female in any kind of way is a form of acute insanity. Now, you don't punish people for their insane acts, so you'd have to punish everybody because we're all insane. It's just a matter of degree. But people are supposed to be trying to improve. That's why I say black people's goal when it comes to this sexuality thing are supposed to be to establish ultimately, a universal man with and for a universal woman. Universal man, universal woman. That's the logical process. Now, anything else, marrying your dog or something like that, that can be done. Now, maybe you shouldn't be punished for it. If you want to marry your dog or marry your cat or marry your sister even, like the Romans Caligula did or whatever, and had babies by his sister, all right, which is a prevalent thing in some societies and whatnot. But is it the best thing? See, that's what you look for. None of us are the way that we ought to be. We are all defective. That's why I don't like this thing of using Black History Month to praise black history. Nobody's history should be praised. Nobody's history should be praised. I want to say that over and over again. In the third grade, when you learn about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, they shouldn't be praised. They should be recorded. You should know what they did. You should also know what they didn't do that they should have done. And this is true of all people, because all people are defective. You don't have anybody who's qualified to look down on anybody else. And that's the way that thing should be handled, where, sometimes some of the people are being killed or something like that, or in prison because they are expressing that form of insanity, which is what it is. I'm going to say it to the whole world. I don't care how many people, professors and whatnot, come up and say, oh, well, no, it's freedom and love, Well, hey, a grandmother can love her grandson, but, what do you do about it? That's what I'm talking about.
Mr. Fuller,
what type
Mr.
of behavior do you get into because you love your grandson?
Mr. Fuller, why is it insanity? Lay that case out.
The white supremacists that's all their package. They are the ones who are pushing this. You blame them for every bit of it. And in Nigeria, where they are rounding up people who are so-called gay and all like that, no, I wouldn't agree with that. They can do what they see fit about it. I can't condemn that according to the code. I can give my opinion of it, and that is I'm saying notice that the white supremacists that's their agenda. They are pushing this. Now, if the white people want to all degenderize, that's the term that I gave, among themselves, go ahead and do it. We'll see how that plays out over a period of 1,000 years or so, or maybe even 50 years. But leave the non-white people out of it. That's all that I ask, until that experiment completes its entire cycle and proves to be better than anything else ever thought up. Because if you're going to do something, it should be better than what you're doing. It should be an improvement. It shouldn't be worse, and it shouldn't be what it is, because all relationships, male-female relationships, are nowhere what they should be, nowhere near what they should be. But we need to perfect that. Take it to the nth degree and see if we can perfect that arrangement first before we try all these so-called alternatives. I just saw in the Washington Post newspaper the other day where some lady, I mean, she appears to be a white lady, says she is now a queer gender. In other words, she's a special category. But I predicted some years ago that there will be 30, 40, 50, maybe 80 or 200 different categories of sexuality. I came up with at least 75 possible scenarios myself. Omnisexual, I mean, part-time sexual. You can go on and on and on if you just want to try stuff. But just because people can do something doesn't say that they should do it. People don't seem to get that message. Just because people are very flexible. People can do a lot of things. Like I said, you can marry a rhinoceros if you want to. And you can, what is the reason that you do this? What's the reason being given for all of this degenderization? Love and freedom. These are the two words that keep coming up. You should be able to love anybody. And it will soon creep in. You should be able to love anything and express your love in any manner. That's where it gets to that's where the rubber meets the road. How, in what manner are you going to express your love? Does that mean that you put a necklace on your pig or what? I mean, now, if that's the manner in which you're going to do it, well, maybe that's okay. A pig with a necklace, all right? But now, if you're going to look at the pig's sexual organs and say, well, now, you got anything there that I can use? Now, that might not be the best thing to do, either for your benefit or the pigs, or for the general benefit of future civilization. It just might not be. Now, it might be. See, I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying stand back and look at these things before we go plunging ahead.
Wow.
I don't think that's too much to ask.
That's pretty deep. Caller, did you want to respond in any way to what Mr. Fuller has said?
No, I would just like to thank him for the explanation. It seems logical to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks both of you. Mr. Fuller, this is quite a dynamic discussion. I appreciate all of our callers, 1-877-932-9766. Closing thoughts, Mr. Fuller. We've got about 2.5 minutes left, and I wanted to get any thoughts or anything that you specifically wanted to bring up. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Well, I just like to, somebody called me about this recently. They wanted me to repeat the 6 white supremacist strategies for confusion.
Okay.
So, number 1 is racial classification confusion. 2, racial dislocation confusion. 3, racial population tailoring confusion. 4, racial sexual confusion. 5, racial showcasing confusion. And 6, racial white sacrifice confusion. And I'll just touch on that last one I just named. Racial white sacrifice confusion, I would say, for an example, is probably what's going on in the Ukraine right now. The so-called civil war that we talk about, and a lot of people have reenactments. That is an example of that. It doesn't mean that white people are becoming favorable to non-white people. It means like gangsters getting together, arguing about, like the Corleones, how they're going to handle the black people up in Harlem, and having a fight about it.
Wow. I think that aspect is the greatest confusion. That last one confuses a lot of black people, doesn't it, Mr. Fuller?
Yes, because, see, a lot of white people died at Antietam and places like that, in Gettysburg and what